Happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day today. My name is Andrew Heischman. I'm the lead forecaster here in WW116. So in today's video, we'll be taking a look here at the tropics like we usually do. We do have that one disturbance in the Eastern Pacific that we've been paying attention to, which we'll touch base on that. We'll be taking a look at the Storm Prediction Center because we do have the threat for severe weather. And I'm actually taking I've been looking at models here recently, and we might have the threat for severe weather across the Midwest and bits of the Ohio Valley early next week, so stay tuned for that as we'll take a look at some models. We'll be taking a look at observed snowfall. We did have that winter system that did move its way across the region, basically to the basically the northwest and the upper elevations of the Rockies. Especially like Wyoming, you guys got a decent amount of snowfall, so we'll go ahead and take a look at that. And at the end of the video, we'll be taking a look at the National Weather Service hazards, warnings, watches, advisories, etc. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into it. So, here in the Atlantic, I did take a look at ECNS ensembles, so basically model data. And essentially, there's really not much going on here in terms of the Atlantic Ocean right now. It's kind of dead, but like I said before, we are still in hurricane season, and there is the waves where sometimes it's active and sometimes it's not. But right now we're kind of in like that not active zone, so really not much going on here in terms of the Atlantic as of right now. However, we move over to the Eastern Pacific. We were actually monitoring that one system that was basically just south of the Yucatan Peninsula, which we were looking at yesterday. The overall chance of this thing forming is actually increased. We are now at throughout 5 days, we have an 80% chance that this thing's going to form, which, is honestly not surprising. ECNS ensembles were really showing, good agreement with this, as well as, basically just model support. So this thing is generally going to be moving to the northwest, has a, basically an 80% chance of forming through the next 5 days. And throughout 48 hours, so 2 days, this thing has a 20% chance of forming. So there's a decent amount of chance that this thing actually could form. This thing will likely form further down the line. However, in 48 hours, it's still kind of a low chance of this thing forming overall. But, as time moves on, this thing will definitely have the potential to, basically form. And which we'll keep posting updates on this system. This is literally the only thing that's going on in the tropics right now. Like I said, the Atlantic's kind of dead. Same as the Central Pacific, not really much going on here. So basically just the Eastern Pacific is where we have our eyes at in terms of the tropics. With that, that one disturbance here, with the overall chance of 80% chance of formation. So that's what we're dealing with in terms of the tropics. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the Storm Prediction Center side of things. We do have a marginal risk in today for basically southern Minnesota as well as northern Iowa. We don't have a tornado threat or a wind damage threat today. We basically just have a hail threat for today, basically meaning anywhere in this 5% region, every single 25 miles inside of this region, basically you could see, hail 1 inch in diameter or larger. Basically here in this 5% zone, as we will have, the marginal threat for storms today. Basically, just like I said, others under southern Minnesota and northern Iowa, with that marginal risk being severe threat level 1 out of 5. So it's basically the minimum severe criteria here. So nothing too special today, but you do have that hail threat in effect. So we move to day 2. We actually do have 2 areas of marginal risk. We have one in basically southwestern Oklahoma, and we basically have one across, the eastern bits of the Ohio Valley and moving into the northeast, for bits of like northern West Virginia, western Pennsylvania, basically extreme western New York, and bits of eastern Oklahoma, or sorry, I totally got that wrong. Basically eastern Ohio. I was thinking of Oklahoma down here. But generally, that's what we're dealing with for tomorrow. Tornado, we don't really see a tornado threat for tomorrow. Wind damage, we do have the wind damage threat. Basically, winds could get above severe criteria, being 58 miles per hour or more, every single 25 miles here in the 5% zone. Same as we move on to hail. So basically, the wind threat is the main concern here for basically this marginal risk here for bits of the Ohio Valley moving into the northeast. And then the hail threat seems to be the concern for basically southwestern Oklahoma here. That's basically what we're dealing with in terms of that. So really nothing too crazy. We do have the 1 out of 5 severe threat, so that's basically the lowest severe criteria there is. We move on to day 3. We just have TSTM risks. This is basically just generalized thunderstorms. It looks like we have Pac-Man here. But generally, this is just non-severe thunderstorms, just your average thunderstorm, usually producing, effects under severe criteria. We have one here basically for the central Great Plains. We have a little bit here for the Texas coast, bits of southern Florida, and a little bit of the mid-Atlantic here, basically, through like Virginia Beach. all the way down towards, basically near like northern South Carolina here, with this, generalized threat for thunderstorms. So nothing really too crazy with that. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, we are actually paying attention to another event further down the line. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that now. So in terms, we're going to be looking at GFS. This is actually not the recent model. The recent model here is 12Z, which this one's still updating. I guess we can take a look because it looks like enough model, a little bit, enough information has came in from this model. As you can see, we're kind of seeing this highlighted area here. This is basically supercell composite. This is just a mixture between different things that thunderstorms need, and it gives it a value pretty much. That's in simple terms. So we do have, a decent chance of having, storms across the basically a bit to the Midwest, moving into the Ohio Valley here, near like Kentucky and stuff. We do have the threat for some severe thunderstorms, in which we'll actually grab a sounding here for bits basically just in Missouri. We'll go ahead and take a look and see, kind of break down what exactly is going on in this sounding. So it does look like we might have a little bit of a cap here. However, I do believe that the thunderstorm will be able to push through that cap. So in terms of hail, I don't really see anything, any key factors really sticking out in terms of hail for today or for this day. However, I do see the threat for damaging winds. We do have D-Cape values, just about 1,100, almost pushing 1,200. That's honestly kind of a big value in terms of, some downdrafts could become strong enough to produce some damaging winds, across the area. So, this is probably like, a decent amount of, a threat here. We do have enough shear here. We definitely do have enough shear for, storms to form. We have enough instability. We have about, just over 2,000 joules a kilogram. That is plenty enough instability. Shear is good enough. So basically for thunderstorms, you need moisture, shear, instability, and lift. We do have lift in terms of this. So basically, we do have a way that you can get the surface moisture from the ground to be able to lift up into the atmosphere. So we do have that. We do have the shear, we do have the instability, and it does look like we do have the moisture too. Dew points here in the upper 60s. That's perfect. Typically you want to see dew points in the 60s and 70s. We're almost pushing 70 here, so that's actually great. So, in terms of the sounding, not so bad. Definitely there is the risk for, some severe thunderstorms here. Now, it does look like we do have a slight veering wind shear pattern, nothing too crazy. You can even see the little possible, hazard type, but don't think that tornado is going to be definite here. Basically, it's just showing that the shear profiles, along with instability, kind of line up that tornadoes could be a thing. We do see a slight hooking photograph here. Nothing too insane, but maybe a tornado or two could be possible for this day. But I think the main threat is going to be those damaging winds. You get those pretty strong downdrafts. Especially with the D-Cape value near almost 1,200 joules per kilogram. So that's honestly that's a lot of instability for your downdraft. So definitely keep an eye on this system as we move on through the next few days. Let's go and take another sounding here. We're going to take one for bits of northern and western Kentucky here. So what I'm seeing here is the mixed layer cape is obviously low. Instability is not really there in terms of this. We do have a cap, so I really don't think anything's going to happen in this sounding. But generally, as this risk does move to the east. But we do have a little bit of a hooking, photograph here. This is basically just due to your wind shear patterns. The wind shear is there for thunderstorms to form. However, the instability side of things, not really. So a storm likely would not form in that sounding. But we'll go ahead and move this on. As we move, further in time, this is actually October 26th. This is actually late Monday. But this is measuring in Zulu time or Universal time. But we'll go ahead and take a sounding here for central Kentucky. This is basically as the environment moves over Kentucky, so this is more favorable zone for development of severe weather. So shear is there. It's kind of a little strange here at the the lower levels of the atmosphere. We do have the shear here. We don't really see, even though this says tornado, there is really no well-defined sickle shape for your photograph here. We do have enough instability, just pushing over 1,000 joules per kilogram. D-Cape pushing around 700, so you could see marginalized damaging winds here. 68 degree dew points, that's really good. I mean, so in general, we do have, it looks like we might have a little bit of a cap going on here, but nothing too crazy. I still think that I'll be able to push through any thunderstorms that try to develop. But generally, honestly, I do think that we could see some severe storms here. But, definitely we'll have to keep an eye out on this over the next few days. So that's what we're dealing with there. Generally we do have the severe threat for bits of the Midwest moving into the bits of the Ohio Valley. So we'll be posting more videos on this definitely as this does progress further in time. So let's go ahead and take a look here. We'll go ahead and take a look at temperatures, across the region here. We'll go ahead and go all the way back. So we do have that area of low pressure that was associated with that winter storm that just moved through. Basically the bits of the Northwest, dropping snow here in Wyoming, which we'll get into here in a moment, just how much snow. But generally, this will actually influence a cold front that moves across the region. You can see those temperatures actually dropping down. We'll get to the 40s here tonight. This is actually 12Z, so this would probably be around 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. But basically, we're going to see temperatures in the 40s. This is just, breaking. The sun's just now starting to rise here tomorrow in this case. We do have freezing temperatures across here, basically bits of North and South Dakota here, stretching into northern Minnesota. We do, of course, have freezing temperatures here in Colorado, of course, with those higher elevations. Same here as in Wyoming. Bits of Utah, we also do have the, freezing, and basically through bits of the upper elevations is where you're seeing those freezing temperatures. But generally, tomorrow night, we're looking at, 60s and 70s across the southeast here. And I wouldn't say really 70s. I'd say more 60s, mid-60s to upper 60s here, across the bits of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Probably near 70 here in Florida, of course, because you do get the, more tropical moisture type of things, here from the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico. So you do get a little bit warmer temperatures, due to that. We move into the mid-Atlantic region, we're probably going to see temperatures in the 50s, you can see here. Maybe a little bit more warmer temperatures, across, near Michigan and stuff, because you get this advection going on, basically this warm and tropical air is advecting north, so it's moving to the north and it's kind of going up in this area, so a little bit warmer in case of this for that night. We move in a bit further, you can kind of see the temperatures do kind of fluctuate here and there. We do still have freezing temperatures in the upper elevations. This is for the next day. This is 7 o'clock p.m. Central, basically for Central Time here. This is basically for the next day. So basically, here throughout the southeast, we're talking temperatures in the 60s still. And we move on to basically, you can't take this 100% seriously, but, like I said, this is just one model, this is just one run too. But generally, you can kind of get an idea of what you can expect throughout those days, basically there. So I didn't mean to get that sounding. But that's what we're dealing with in terms of that. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to the overall observed snowfall for today, or basically for the storm we just had across the Northwest here. We do have a decent amount of snowfall that fell throughout Wyoming, basically bits here of Nebraska, basically extreme northwestern Nebraska. We do have a decent amount of snowfall, probably up to 6 inches here in the extreme northwestern quadrant here. We do have a decent amount of snowfall, basically in basically central, west central, extreme west central South Dakota here. You can see a little marker saying 5.5, but this is not in the center of where you see like the the darker values. So the areas of darker values, we've probably seen some, snow accumulations, maybe up to 10 inches in some areas. It really just depends locally. You can see here in Wyoming, especially those upper elevations, we're seeing pushing over 12 inches. So we do have over a foot here in these zones here. That's overall a decent amount of snowfall. So that's what we're dealing with in terms of that. I guess we can go and take a look here at season snowfall. This is actually kind of interesting. We'll go ahead and go back to national. We'll take a look at the United States. This is generally how much snow has fell this year so far. We can actually see there's a decent amount. It's already fallen across the, mostly the West Coast here. You can see, a lot of snowfall here, and there's this really sharp gradient here between, basically North and South Dakota, just on the western sides of the states. But you can see, throughout Wyoming, bits of Wyoming has literally seen snow everywhere so far. It looks like, a lot of Montana here has also seen this, especially in those upper elevations. You're getting a lot cooler temperatures. The higher you go up in the atmosphere, of course, the cooler it is. But yeah, you're seeing a decent amount of snowfall, so far this year. And we're just, winter's around the corner. So we'll be staying tuned for that, which honestly, I'm kind of excited for winter. I kind of want to see a good snowstorm. I don't know about you guys. If you guys want to see some good snow, make sure to say so in the comments below. So let's go ahead and take a look at the National Weather Service hazards. We really don't have too much going on today, not compared to the last few days. I think a couple of days ago I posted a video which this whole map was crazy, especially here across the West Coast and basically central states. But there's really not too much going on today. We'll go ahead and start off with the non-precipitation side of things. We do have a high wind watch in effect for bits of the west coast of Oregon here. Basically, high winds are possible, so stay alert for that. We do have wind advisories throughout Oregon and bits of northern California here too. Basically, you know, gusty winds are definitely a concern here. So then we move on to the winter side of things. We do have a winter weather advisory here for that one county here in northern California. I don't really know too much on the details of that, but in terms of what winter weather advisories usually mean, is they usually indicate that there could be some type of winter weather in terms of light to moderate snowfall accumulation. This is probably at an upper elevation too. But there is winter weather advisories in effect there. So if you live in this area, you should just probably take a look at your local channel so you can get more details on that. So then we move on to a freeze watch. We do have a freeze watch for bits of actually throughout 3 states. We have Nebraska included, extreme southwestern Nebraska, extreme northwestern Kansas here, and we do have that one county here in basically northeastern Colorado. Basically what a freeze watch means is that the conditions could get to freezing. If freezing was a thing, it could be very sensitive to, to crops, vegetation and stuff. So like if you have any sensitive plants, make sure to bring them inside or cover them up. It just depends, basically in that area. So basically freezing temperatures are possible here. And if freezing temperatures are expected, that will turn to a freeze warning. So then we move on to the last bit for today. We do have a flood warning in effect for bits of, Georgia here. We do have one for Texas and another one, you can barely see it, but here in Indiana as well. But that's basically what we're dealing with, so, flooding conditions are expected there. So that's what we're dealing with for today. I hope everyone has a wonderful day today. Once again, my name is Andrew Heischman. I'm the lead forecaster here in WW16. If you guys have any questions or any comments, make sure to leave them down in the comments below. If you guys, have any questions, like I said, feel free to ask. But anyways, I hope everyone has a wonderful day today, and I'll see you guys in the next video.